providing insights to help you grow your business, improve yourself, and add value to those around you. You're listening to the Success is a Choice podcast, where you get a peek into the lives of industry leaders as they share their stories with you.
Welcome to Success is a Choice podcast. I'm your host, Jamy Bechler. With us today is the Jerry Maguire of college basketball. Brian Stanchak is the president of the BDSAgency, which represents some of the top women's college basketball coaches in the nation. He also started the Head Coach Training Center, which is a conference for future head basketball coaches that has grown by leaps and bounds. Brian is also a former basketball coach and athletic director. Brian, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with us today.
Thanks so much, Jamie. Really excited to be here.
You know, Brian, I was a longtime basketball coach and wished that I had you representing me through all those years. But we met for the first time this past summer when I had the opportunity to be the opening speaker at your conference. You run the Head Coach Training Center. Tell our listeners a little bit about this conference and its origins and how it's different from other conferences.
Sure. So when I got into the business in terms of being an agent, it was never my intention to work with BCS level coaches at that point. It was about being someone who can provide a little extra guidance, a little extra push to help coaches who might be assistant coaches or non-Division I head coaches become a Division I head coach. And so as I started having more and more success as a testament to working with great coaches and great people, I saw that there was a lot out there that coaches could learn, and there weren't many conferences that focused on the off-the-court development, what it takes to be successful as a head coach and what it takes to be able to get that position and strategies for that. And so to kind of give back to help more coaches than just the clients that I represent, that's when I came up with the concept of the Head Coach Training Center. And so it is a unique conference that incorporates not just coaches, but athletic directors, athletic administrators, search firms, industry professionals who teach coaches these strategies to obtain these positions or obtain a position at a higher Division I level if they're already a Division I head coach, or become a Division I head coach if they're a non-Division I head coach. But we just focus on all the off-the-court development that these coaches can learn. And I get a lot of questions from current head coaches who will say, I don't know if I should send my coach there, what type of professional development is, kind of sell it to the university. And I say, if I'm a head coach, I want my coaches to come to this conference because they're going to make your job easier, because your assistant coaches are going to learn about what you go through on a daily basis and take stuff off your plate so they can better themselves.
Yeah, when I left that conference, it was the first time I'd been to that conference, and I mentioned to you where was this 20 years ago when I was a college coach starting off.
Same with me when I was coaching. Yeah,
because at first I thought it was just something that was for job seekers. Do your resume, this is how you do an interview, but it was so much more. And you're right. You mentioned it, professional development. It was so much more than just finding a job. It's being good at the current job you have, being good at the next job that you have. It's just professional development all the way around. And I think you did an excellent job of making it balanced. And it's not just a niche conference where it's only about job seekers. It's for anybody.
Yeah. Well, no, I really appreciate that. And I mean, what you hear, people will ask me sometimes, why I don't film it. And it's, I want coaches that are speaking or athletic administrators that are speaking to be candid. And you'll hear amazing stories from some of these coaches about jobs they didn't get or times they were let down in their career. Or mistakes that they made. And, I mean, it's just fantastic to hear that stuff. And the other thing is, like some conferences that have kind of started taking a similar twist to what I've developed, we'll put together conferences with BCS, a lot of BCS head coaches or administrators. And my thing with that is, I want to eventually coaches want to get to that point, but if you're not a head coach or you're not a Division I head coach, your next stop most likely as a head coach is going to be at the mid-major level or low-major level. So that's who I want these coaches to hear from the most.
Well, yeah, you had some big-time coaches there. You had coach at St. John's. You have the coach at Arkansas. But you also have coaches at some small colleges that we're talking. So you're right. It wasn't just BCS. It wasn't just, all right, these are the big timers. And then people are sitting there thinking, well, this wouldn't work for me. This doesn't help my situation. I mean, you had panels of all different levels And I thought it was really good. What are some, not just coaching related, but what are some things that you kind of learned that you pass on to your clients, or words of advice that you would have just in general, not just a coach, but anyone in business about finding the next job or being really good at their current job, things like that you've maybe learned from doing these conferences?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing with it is, it is a profession of where networking is huge. But it also is making a good impression. And that's whether with your current employer or whether it's with coaches while you're on the road recruiting, or when you're competing against them at games, whatever it might be at a conference. And so being able to be loyal and be able to put together a strong network of advocates who are going to help you is huge in terms of growing and reaching your goals. I think the first step is figuring out what your goal is. And that's always the first question I have for clients is, what's your goal? And you should have a lot of mini goals to get to that point. It can't just be, I want to be a BCS head coach, because if you're a assistant coach in the MAC conference, your next move's not going to be a BCS head coach. So what's your goal to continue that on? And that's where I'm good with advising clients, because I've been in both spots as an AD and a coach to kind of help give them a little bit of vision and guidance in that when they don't necessarily know what track to take to get to that point. You
mentioned your background. Talk a little bit about your journey and your background, how you got from where you were, years ago when you were starting off in coaching to now being one of the top basketball coaching agents out there.
Yeah, I never intended on being an agent. I went to Seton Hall. I started coaching. I was never the best player, and I knew I wasn't going to play college basketball. And so rather than continue to try to develop myself as a player, I started coaching when I was 16 years old, and that was always my goal. I had done that and then started learning the importance of networking at a young age from certain coaches that I would communicate with, and started working college basketball camps. And I got to know Chris Collins, who was the assistant at Seton Hall, who's the head coach at Northwestern, and Tommy Amaker, who was the head coach at Seton Hall, and he's the head coach at Harvard now. And I really was impressed with them, and they gave me an opportunity to come to Seton Hall and learn from them in a really nice capacity. And so I went to Seton Hall for that. I graduated with a degree in sport management. Every kid in my class wanted to be an agent. I was probably the only one that didn't want to be an agent at the time. And now it's funny because I think I'm the only one that is an agent, and none of them are. But after graduation, I got an opportunity to go and work as the coordinator of basketball operations for the men's and women's team at the University of Pennsylvania, and worked under current Temple coach Fran Dunphy, who that year, which it wasn't a testament to me because they won continuously, but we won the Ivy League championship that year. And but my eyes were opened up to a women's side from Patrick Knapp, who was the head coach at Georgetown. He had just gotten hired a month after I started there at Penn, and he was instrumental in helping me make the transition to the women's game. It was much more pure. Not every player thought they were making it to the NBA. I mean, I really just enjoyed the teaching aspect of it. And at the same time, I also wanted to get back closer to home in Jersey. And so went back to Fairleigh Dickinson for 2 years in Jersey, and then went back and coached in the Big East at Seton Hall for 3 years. And, it was a phenomenal time in the Big East. It was the best conference in the country. But, as well as we would do non-conference-wise, we'd get to the conference season and we couldn't compete with the Louisvilles and UConns and Notre Dames that we were facing on a daily basis. And so my boss retired. I was 28 years old at the time after 3 years there. I kind of felt satisfied with my career despite numerous opportunities to stay in the profession. I was ready to try something new. And after dabbling a little bit in pharmaceutical sales and making more money than I had made in my whole entire life up until that point, I just missed being on a college campus and was fortunate enough to be offered an athletic director job at a college in Pennsylvania, Penn State Wilkes-Barre. And So it was during this time I was advising a lot of my coaching friends that I had met during my coaching career on handling situations with their administrators, interview preparation, and contract negotiations. And some of these coaches were getting better jobs or getting better contracts. And so I saw not just that there was a need for it, but I thought that I could provide real value, having been on both sides of the table. And so I started my company in 2013, and it's grown tremendously to where we've worked with 23 clients who have become first-time head coaches, 5 clients who have changed Division I head coaching jobs, numerous ones who have switched to assistant coaching jobs or obtained non-Division I head coaching positions, and so it's been a fantastic short 4 years.
What have been some key traits that you've seen of the successful coaches that you've dealt with? Are there some common traits that you kind of see over and over again?
Well, I think being a strong communicator is first and foremost. But one thing someone probably won't tell you that I think is one of those intangible things that there's the communication trait, which is everyone brings up, but I think that the one thing that separates, good and great coaches is the ability to delegate effectively. And part of that is surrounding yourself with a great staff that you can trust. And so as a head coach, especially for the ones who become a head coach for the first time, they're so used to doing all the recruiting or doing the travel. But you're being pulled in so many different directions when you become a head coach that you can't do that. And so being able to surround yourself with great people and then being able to trust and delegate effectively, it makes their job so much easier, which helps translate to success.
If you could go back and do anything differently in your career, something different, what do you think that would be? What would you have done differently?
I'd have to say nothing, because even everything that's happened to me up until this point, good or bad, has led me to where I am. And so I'm grateful for the good and the bad times, because I would have never been where I am right now doing what I love, helping as many coaches as I've been able to help and fortunate to help. So I'm grateful for everything.
Not that you wish you had chosen necessarily a different path, but what are some of those times when you've had some forks in the road? And then walk us through your decision-making process and how you came to make the decisions that you've made.
I think, when I decided to step out of coaching, obviously there was some time where, it was okay, what's next? And, I had some great opportunities to stay in the profession, but I was burned out. I was burned out and ready to try something new. And so, there was a fork in the road at that point. It was, okay, do I want to go and make money, or do I want to continue to be on the path of working in college athletics? And so that's when I kind of started exploring the administrative route. But again, I look back and I'm just, like I said, I'm just grateful for everything that's happened to me up until this point, because if I wasn't where I was at the time as an AD, I definitely wouldn't be doing this. And I don't think I'd have the value that I have for my clients up to this point.
So being an AD and being a college coach, you think that has kind of sets you apart, that differentiates you from a lot of other agents out there?
Oh, no question. Yeah, no question. There's no other agent out there that has the experience that I have with that. Think about it. I'm not some guy who went to law school and decided, hey, I can make money representing coaches. But have they dealt with the life of being a college coach on a daily basis and what they go through and the time constraints and the dedication that they put in the profession? No. You can't know unless you've walked in their shoes. Same thing with an AD. So many agents think that they learn how to communicate with ADs because of what they see on TV, Jerry Maguire, whatever that might be. But, there's a different way to build relationships with administrators. And so I think there's no question. For me, I've done contracts as an AD. So I feel like I have more of an expertise than any agent who hasn't walked in the shoes of an athletic director.
Yeah, it gives you different perspectives of both sides, essentially.
Oh, no question.
We'll return to the interview with Brian Stanchak shortly, but I wanted to take a moment to thank today's show sponsor, HostGator.com. They might not have cool commercials like GoDaddy.com or Danica Patrick advertising for them, but what they are is inexpensive and easy to use, which is really what I care about. I am definitely a rookie when it comes to websites, and they were very helpful. I use them for all of my websites. If you want to make a website or even get a new one, then I recommend HostGator.com. Use promo code SUCCESS and you'll get up to 50% off the retail price. Cheap and easy. That's how I like my websites. Use promo code SUCCESS at HostGator.com. And now, back to our interview with Brian Stanchak.
What's one of the toughest things or biggest challenges that you face being an agent, working with various basketball coaches?
Obviously, it's just trying to do anything I can to help my clients be successful, but it's also realizing that things are out of my control, and wanting to help them get better deals and better contracts. And I can fight for them, but ultimately, athletic directors want to see results. And so, trying to work with them then on, what can I do? Is it, help you with a scheduling strategy or a fundraising strategy or based on their evaluation? So I think that's the hardest thing, is just knowing that certain things are out of my control when I believe so much in a coach, and just trying to translate that to getting them a better deal, especially when an AD just wants to see different results than what I feel might be adequate.
And you talking about believing in a coach so much and caring about a coach so much, you do something a little different than some other agents might do in terms of you limit your clients. You seem not to have as many clients as would want representation. Talk to us a little bit about why you do that, why you're a little more selective.
Yeah, it's always been quality over quantity for me. The big thing for me has been diversification. Obviously I need to grow as a business and be able to sustain my well-being and my family's well-being. So I can't just have 5 clients. I need to grow. But also I can do so strategically. And so for me, there's, I have to evaluate. My loyalty is always to the clients I have. And if there's a potential new client, I have to evaluate, one, is there going to be a return on the investment because of the time that I put into them? And then 2, do they fit too much of the same profile, level of experience, area of the country, what they're looking for with several of my other clients? Because if they do, again, my loyalty is to my current clients. So I don't want to have 5 or 6 people looking for the same job that fit the same profile. And so it's about diversification there. It's how I'm fair to my clients.
I follow a number of agents, whether it's coach agents, athletic director agents, or athlete agents online, social media-wise, and I don't see anybody out there that's getting as many thanks on social media as you get from your clients. So certainly you engage with your clients. They trust you. They believe in you. And it's sometimes it's a love fest. It's awesome. If I was a coach and you were my agent, I would believe wholeheartedly that you're out there caring about me and will try to get me the best deal possible.
Oh, I appreciate it. And again, it's not just about the contract. There's so many things. Like I try to put into my business what I would want as a coach from an agent and what I would expect. And so it goes beyond just the contract. It's the interview prep, the job placement support, the marketing, the career development, the resume enhancement. Any little thing will work with them. But I love that about my clients, and all this stuff is not initiated by me. The stuff that they put out there, it's just nice because, I heard once that, like gratitude is the shortest of all emotions. And so to know that, my clients are continuing to be just as good for me as I am for them, that's what fuels me and really, keeps me going.
What is kind of a mistake or things you've seen that coaches have made or people have made that have cost them jobs, or other than like wins and losses, but cost them either the job they have or getting a job that they would want at some point?
Yeah, I think things that can cost you your job. Again, there's such a fine line when it comes to, you win, you lose. You have a losing record, you're probably going to get fired. Your kids are getting caught doing drugs and getting in trouble, you're going to get fired. So there's some obvious things, but, I think the biggest thing that I see coaches, and I'll emphasize this to my clients, is being able to build that relationship and loyalty with their administrators and being able to have that relationship, especially when you get a new AD in there or new SWA or new direct supervisor. If you're not, if you don't build that loyalty and go out of your way to build that relationship, even if they're someone who, isn't necessarily going to go out of their way, whether on purpose or not, that's going to, if it comes down to a decision between you getting fired or keeping your job for an extra year because they want to give you another shot, that could be it. And so I think it's just making sure that you build that loyalty between you and your administrator.
You are always pouring out and giving back to your clients. Like I talk about, I see that on social media. You're at practices, you're at games during the season, even if it's not a contract year. How do you ensure that you continue and grow and develop yourself and that, when you're giving and pouring out, that you're getting kind of replenished or recharged?
Yeah, I think it's just listening to my clients. I don't expect everyone to have a great year, but when I see coaches who put in so much work have success, like that's what continues to get me going and growing. But I think just learning and talking to as many people as possible, there's no one set way to do things as far as getting a head coaching job and being successful in the role. And everything's dependent on the person doing the hiring or the person doing the firing. And so I think that, me continuing to listen, to hear as many perspectives as possible, whether it's communicating with athletic directors or coaches, to find out, what's the best way to handle multiple situations with them. That's what I do.
What's the best way for people to connect with you and learn more about you and your services?
Sure. They can go to thebdsagency.com or feel free to follow me on Twitter at BDStan and check me out there. I'm probably more active on Twitter than anything else. It's the same for Instagram at BDStan, but you'll just see a lot more pictures of my son on Instagram than I have on Twitter.
Nice. Well, we'll definitely put those in the show notes. I'd like to finish up here with a few random rapid-fire questions. Are there any podcasts or books that you would recommend or that you're currently consuming?
I think some of my clients make fun of me sometimes because I'll always recommend this book to them, and it's older. But, it's the best book I ever read, Think Like a Champion by Mike Shanahan. If you're a basketball coach and you can learn from a football coach how to manage a program and manage 100 people instead of just 15 to 20, you're going to be a pretty good leader. And so Mike Shanahan's book just talks everything about details, about managing people in terms of what traits it takes to be successful. And so that's certainly the book that I would recommend.
Yeah, not only all those players, 100 plus players, but all the staff, all the coaches as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Who would you like to meet or get to know that you don't currently already know?
If we're just talking anyone, I'd probably say my dad's father, who passed away when I was 3. I'd probably go the family route there. My grandfather, there's pictures of me when I was younger with him. And, my dad obviously was very close with him and whatnot. And so, I look at my son now, Mason, and his relationship with his grandfather. And so, it's just one of those things where, I wish I had that opportunity to at least get to see what made my dad the guy that I admire.
That's awesome, because that's then becomes who you are. And then who your son becomes as well. So great answer. What is a favorite quote or mantra that you live by?
I would say hard work puts you where good luck will find you.
What is a productivity tool or an app or a resource or type of software that you'd have a hard time living without?
Just the iPhone, everything. As we were talking about before the podcast, no home phone, no office phone, everything's on the iPhone. The thing that's a lifesaver for me is the fact that, if you have a Mac and you have the iPhone and you can sync, so that way, you can get Wi-Fi anywhere because the Mac pulls it off your phone. is, I mean, it's awesome. It's the greatest thing ever. So that would be my second part of my answer.
Yeah, there's no doubt that phone, especially from a macro level, but that phone, I remember, and you probably remember this too as a coach, but when you would be driving to go see someone recruit or something like that, and you were running late, you actually had to stop at a gas station and get out of your car and go to a payphone to call and tell them you were running late.
Oh yeah, or have to print out pages pages of MapQuest directions to get to.
Or actually have a real map from a gas station that you had to unfold.
Yeah, I was never at that point. They had MapQuest when I was coaching, luckily, okay. So I was good. But I remember, the notebooks I put together for my head coaches when I was a recruiting coordinator, and it was just stacked with that stuff.
If you could be on one reality show, what would it be?
And I actually tried out for a couple reality shows when I was a kid or when I was in college, but we won't delve into those stories. I would say, if I could be on anything, probably Shark Tank as one of the investors. I think that's awesome.
What would be one of the most important habits or qualities that you think has contributed to your success?
If we're being honest here, probably my OCD. I'm very detail-oriented. I'm very, I try to put myself in a coach's position and an AD's position when communicating with them or when realizing how to manage them and how to be the best agent for them as possible. But, yeah, I would certainly say that, my attention to detail with things certainly has affected that.
Other than your current job, which is a dream job for a lot of people, or being a multi-millionaire or billionaire on Shark Tank, what would you want to do in life if you couldn't be an agent or a coach, something you've already done?
If I could do anything and had the talent to do anything, I'd probably be a country music performer.
So who do you like in country music then? Who are some of your favorites?
I like Eric Church. He's probably one of my favorites. Some of the guys that I really I like old school country. Like when I say old school, I'm like 90s country and stuff like that. So I'm trying to get my son into it, but he always wants me to put on the Lion Guard CD when we're in the car. So we haven't got to that point yet. But yeah, I would say country. Garth Brooks, love Garth Brooks and stuff like that.
So would you play an instrument, or would you just have a cowboy hat, tight jeans, and sing?
No, I'd probably do guitar too. I played guitar a little bit. I was always focused with coaching or being an AD or an agent. I have a very good Big Baby Taylor acoustic guitar at home that I used to play much more frequently, but I haven't done so much anymore. But you can throw a guitar in my hand too. I'd be able to multitask there.
Nice. Well, man, I appreciate Brian. I appreciate your insights you provided today. You dropped some nuggets on us, and you even talked a little country music. So let us inside of what makes you tick and what things you like away from being a basketball agent in your job. So I definitely appreciate your time. Thanks for providing those insights, Brian.
Yeah, Jamie. Thanks so much for having me, man.
Thanks for tuning in to listen to one of the top sports agents around. If you are a basketball coach and want to learn more about Brian's Head Coach Training Center, please make sure to check out the show notes for the link. This year's conference will be held in May at the world's largest Marriott Resort Center located in Orlando, Florida. Also, we want to make sure that you don't miss any future episodes, so please make sure that you just take one quick second to click that little subscribe button. Thanks so much, and until next time, remember that success is a choice. What choice will you make today?